pretend that we haven't. Welcome to Book Buzz Beach Reads Edition. So we're going to go through, we each have 2 titles that we're going to formally book talk, and then we have a third bonus speed round if we have time. We'd love to tell you a little bit more about it, but at least you're going to walk away with a whole list of titles. So I am Lizzie, the library director. I'm recording this, so I'm going to say it again. And we will, each panelist, when they come up, I'll have you introduce themselves that way. Does that make more sense? Okay. So I'm going to share my screen because we did put, oh wait, hold on. Maybe I will, but I have to pull up my PowerPoint first. It's right down here. I had to restart my computer before we started. There we go. Now, can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. I don't know how to move this bar out of the way. Okay, that works. All right, thank you for the technical difficulties. Hold on, I want to present it so you can down there. It's not gonna, okay, good.
That's not presented on the screen.
What's presented?
It is just your PowerPoint presentation still. It didn't go to presenter mode.
This is good. We're learning.
I would.
How do I?
Based on the screen.
I think it's based on the screen you're sharing for Zoom.
Screen share options. Oh. Cool. Is that working?
Yes.
Thanks, Felicia. She's my tech advisor. Okay. So you guys can kind of see this.
Sorry.
So I'm going to start with my first pick. And it is called Lessons in Chemistry. I think it came out either the end of March or the beginning of April. It's probably, I'm hopeful it'll be one of my favorite fictions of the year. I'm saying that already for 2022. The main character, Elizabeth Zott, is one of the best heroines I think I've encountered in a long time. But there's a character that beats her out of the water, and it's a dog named 630. I won't say anything more about him, but he's amazing. So it's the early 1960s, and Elizabeth Zott is a scientist first, and a chemist specifically. She is dedicated to her research. She works in an all-male lab, and she's quite honestly treated horribly. She has to deal with the sexism across the board, especially in her profession. And she just really just, they do not take it kindly that she's like, I'm here to do work, and I'm ignoring the fact that, you keep trying to push me aside. The only other scientist that she ends up respecting and listening to her wisdom and her talent is this Calvin Evans, and she's kind of shocked by the fact that they treat each other as equals, and she's most shocked that they fall in love, that there's actual chemistry, because she didn't really believe in any of that. But as life has unexpected results, she ends up a few years later a single mother out of the job, and so she gets kind of, I won't spoil it, but whisked away into the situation where she is now a host of a afternoon, I think around 4 o'clock dinner show that's called Supper at 6. And it becomes this nationwide sensation of this cooking show. And what starts as, people are really taken by her no nonsense business aspect to, she treats cooking like science. So an example of something is she says, I combine 1 tablespoon of acidic acid with a pinch of sodium chloride, like everything about it, how she does. And she treats all her viewers and the women around the world just, ask questions, and she kind of stirs a sensation because she, dares women to be beyond just, the cooking for dinner is important, but it's all of this other things combined. So she kind of revolutionizes everyone across America and stirs up a lot more trouble than people expect. So she revolutionized the way women think and act and their value. It's an awesome story. It's about found family. As I said, it takes place in the 60s. So if you love that time period, it's for all it was great and all that was bad about it. And I think so. She combined, the author is by Bonnie Garmis. She combines 60s television, science, sports, faith, trauma into a story that's so compelling. You're not going to forget it. I didn't want it to end. I loved all the characters. It was super charming and just really well done. So it's one of my favorites of the year. So it's called Lessons in Chemistry. It's by Bonnie Garmis. I'm going to come back around with my next pick later, but I'm going to pass it off to Liz, who's going to do the next. And I tried to get a copy of Lessons in Chemistry, but it's checked out. So put a hold on it.
Is it a big wait?
Hi, I'm Liz. I work in tech services. And so that means nobody knows what that means.
It's a very important job.
Yeah. So I send orders for books and I see all the new books when they come in and process them and get them ready for everyone to check out. So that's what I do. So my book is called The Night Shift by Alex Finlay. So we did this maybe, I want to say sometime during the pandemic, and I did Alex Finlay's first book called Every Last Beer. And I feel like The Night Shift is even better. So that's my opinion. But so it starts off, it's New Year's Eve, 1999, and 4 teenage girls are working at a Blockbuster video store with their manager. And while they're working, they are attacked and there is only one survivor. So then we fast forward 15 years and there are 4 teenage girls at an ice cream shop closing up for the night. And again, there's another attack. 3 girls are murdered and 1 girl survives. So the question is, did the original killer come back? In the first case, there was a teenage boy who was suspected and he escaped from custody. Well, he was out on bail and he ran. Or is it someone new? Because so much time has gone by. So the book is told from multiple point of views. So it's Ella, who's a therapist. She's the survivor of the first attack. And she's called in to help because Jesse, the survivor of the second attack, only wants to speak to her. And then we have Sarah Keller, FBI agent, who is great and you'll definitely be rooting for her. And
she's pregnant with twins.
She's pregnant with twins and like 8 months pregnant with twins. So she's like, you really, really like her. And so then there's also Chris, who's the assistant prosecutor, but he also has some ties to the original murder, but we just don't know what exactly they are. And I would say this book is a perfect beach read because I read a bunch of reviews for it after I read it. And it was all like, I read it in one sitting, couldn't put it down. Short, concise chapters that really like just moves it along. And you will definitely be trying to figure out who did it. And yeah, so I would say all the characters are pretty likable, or at least the ones you're supposed to like.
Were you surprised by the ending?
I would say I wasn't super surprised, but I felt like there were definitely red herrings. So I was pleasantly. I was surprised, but there were like 2 people that I was between. And so anyway, so I didn't totally predict it. I think that it's definitely like till the end, you're like, who did it? And so if you like thrillers, or if you're a fan of final girl thrillers or great plot twists, I think this is a great addition to your beach bag.
Hi, everybody. My name is Susie Canali, and right now I'm at Adult Services. I'm upstairs. I do a lot of the gardening programs, if you've ever attended them. So I'm a big fan. My first book that I'm doing today is called The Maidens. It's by Alex Michaelides. I'm following in Liz's footsteps. It's another page turner mystery, and it's another thrasher for teenagers, unfortunately. Except this one has a really nice theme to it, which I'm interested in. It revolves around Greek tragedies.
Oh.
So Mariana Andros is a very brilliant therapist, except she's very troubled as well. She's had a difficult past. She's lost her husband, but she continues her practice for helping others around until one day she gets a phone call from her niece, Zoe, who attends her alma mater of Cambridge University, and finds out that one of Zoe's best friends has been murdered by a knife. So her aunt is very concerned about this, and she goes to the campus and decides she's going to take it upon herself to investigate. Immediately, she suspects this very sexy, good-looking, suave professor named Edward Fosco. He's got it all. He's brilliant. He's captivating. His students love him, particularly this group of girls who he tutors called the Maidens. The Maidens aren't your regular students either. They are from upper privileged families, and one is the governor's daughter, one is a collegiate. These girls are very particular, and they are seemingly untouchable until their bodies end up found on campus, also murdered.
They are very touchable.
Marianne, as much as she digs deeper and deeper, she is convinced that Edward Fosca is the person who's doing it. And the only clues that she has are postcards that are sent to the victims right before their untimely demise. Most of these postcards have quotes from Greek tragic plays, such as "The gods have willed your death, and soon from your throat streams of blood shall gush forth at the sword." That is from Electra from Euripides. So this is a really fun book. It really
Smart
is.
person thriller.
It's very fast. It's very quick. And what I really loved about this is that I also read a lot of mysteries, and the ending, there's no way you can predict it. It's really a shocker, which I love. There aren't even people in there that you think they're going to do it. You won't guess it. Trust me. So if you really want a good page turner that you won't guess the ending, I think that The Maidens are for you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Felicia O'Keefe. I'm the Teen Services Librarian here. So I hope at least some of you are interested in YA, because I do have 2 YAs that I'm going to talk about today. One is This Golden State. First, I feel like, can we just look at that cover? Because it's one of like the most beautiful covers I've seen this year. So This Golden State is by Marie Weisenberg. I did have to Google how to pronounce her name. It's Norwegian, very fun. So in This Golden State, you get to know about the Winslow family, mostly 17-year-old Poppy. Poppy and her sister and their parents have been on the run for as long as Poppy could remember. Basically, anytime anyone gets a little bit too close to the family, kind of just pack everything up, get in the car and drive to a different state, change their names, and everything's fine. So after, in the beginning of this book, the family flees from, I think it's Illinois, and they move to California, which is Poppy's dream. And for whatever reason, the family has always been very cautious about moving to California, which of course interests Poppy a great deal as to why her parents are very nervous about moving to this state. So she starts finally questioning why the family's on the run. Who are her parents? Because her and her sister don't even really know her parents' names. They just know her as like mom and dad. And then what happens to her when she turns 18 in a few months? Because no one's really ever talked about her future. And she has this brilliant like math mind. She starts taking a summer class over the summer vacation when they move to California, and this professor is just like super impressed with the math that she can do, especially she says she's homeschooled, but she hasn't really had like a very good consistent
education. And so, but she's still this brilliant, brilliant person. And she keeps trying to bring up college and her future, and her parents kind of keep knocking her down, saying like, oh, you can't do that. So this book takes place over 2 months in the summer in California, which is like why I feel like it's such a good beach read, because it just makes you want to like sit on the beach in California and live your life. So finally, like Poppy gets to be this teenager, a real teenager, until she decides to do a mail-in DNA test that comes back with more answers than she wanted. And that's kind of, so I thought this book was going to be this really good, like YA mystery. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, I feel like it's not a huge mystery. It's just like, I mean, it is like trying to figure out what's up with her parents, but it's just like a really good coming of age story and very fun. I think, can I get a raise of hands of who's read this book on the panel? Yeah.
You really root for Poppy.
Yeah, like, so, and I think we all liked it. So it's, it really is just like a fun book, and get to know the family a little bit. So I'm gonna now pass it over to, Caroline.
Caroline, you look like you're the cover.
That's why I went with the crown. So this is Lady Sunshine by Amy Mason Doan. It's a little bit older. I found recently that my favorite types of historical fiction are 70s, 80s, and 90s, which is technically historical fiction. It's just a newer twist on it. But this takes place half in the 70s and half in the 90s, where in the 70s, 17-year-old Jackie, just kind of uptight teenager, goes to live at her uncle's compound due to her father's new marriage, just for the summer. And he is a famous singer, kind of on the downward slope in the 70s. And they have all kinds of hanger-ons and like guest houses, and there's a studio in the basement, and it's like a party all summer. And her cousin Willa is her best friend, but the summer ends in tragedy. So moves ahead to 20 years later. The compound has been left to her. The entire catalog of his music has been left to her. And she goes back to pack it up and sell it. And a guy shows up and says he wants to do one last tribute album to her uncle in the studio before she gets rid of it, tears it all down, gives away the music catalog. And so it goes back and forward, kind of, you get to what the real tragedy was and why she's getting rid of it at the end. It's just a really like beautiful book. It's exactly the kind of summer read, kind of slow moving, and like the hippies and the music, and really, really fun for summer, but not a thriller.
Do you find out what happens to her, the villa with her friend? Can you please tell us that?
I can't tell you what happened. No,
No, what happened? Do you find out when you read it what happened? Does she find out? Like, if I read
Yes.
it, do I know I will
Yes,
find
there
out?
there
Okay.
is closure. You
That's
find
what I
out
wanna
what
know.
the
I was like,
tragedy
before I started, I
was,
wanna
and
know.
she, like, comes to terms with her
Okay, good.
loss.
Sometimes you want to start a book, you want to know that like it's not going to leave like making up your own ending.
It's
You want
like
the
a family saga kind of thing.
You want your questions answered.
And back to Lizzie.
Okay, I'm so excited to talk about this book because Riley Sager probably has a book every year, and some are hits, some are misses. But this comes out June 21st, so I was able to get this as librarians. Sometimes we can like request early copies of things, and sometimes we get them. And it's perfect for occasions like this, so that way our library patrons can be ahead of the curve. So in June, when this starts, you're seeing it everywhere, you'll already know. So from first glance, I read the synopsis and I was like, oh, okay, I know this story. You know this story. We all know this story. Rear Window. That was good. Oh, we know that. Okay. Then what? Woman in the Window came out. And I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, this is like Rear Window. Then Girl on the Train. And you're like, okay, I'm kind of getting tired of this unreliable narrator trope. But I kept seeing like little reviews. It's like, this isn't your average one. So I read it and I think I came in and told Liz, I was like, all right, I do have to eat crow because this definitely is not your typical, your typical trope of Rear Window, but it starts that way. So Cassie is our unreliable narrator. She has a tragedy all her own. She is drinking to numb herself because she has lost, a year before, she lost her husband in a drowning accident on their family's Vermont lake. They have this like house, this, you know, ancient house that's been built, was the first house built in this lake. And she was an actress. Her mother was a famous actress. She's an actress, but her mother kind of sends her to the lake house because she has been making bad name in the press, all bad decisions, drinking too much. And her mom's like, okay, detox, do not drink anymore. Just go to this lake house. And she immediately just sits like 9 a.m. she starts drinking. So the opening scene is she's been drinking all morning and she kind of starts to see thrashing in the middle of the lake and she pulls out the boat and she runs in and there's somebody drowning and she thinks that was too late, pulls this beautiful woman aboard and, you know, saves her life. And it turns out that she is this, you know, beautiful, think of like Giselle, like a famous model who is married to a tech mogul and they have just bought this house across the lake that is conveniently all made of glass windows on the side facing the lake. So she, you know, her husband's into bird watching and she sees his binoculars. And so she picks them up and then she starts, you know, noticing, you know, the patterns of their relationship. She starts a friendship with Catherine, very, very like a budding friendship. And, but, you know, she's looking in their binoculars, she sees there's fighting. And then when Catherine disappears, she assumes the worst and gets involved. And at that point I was like, yep, got this. And then all of a sudden, Ryler Sager is brilliant because he really leans into the tropes. Like he's almost winking at you like so heavily. Like he's like, I know that you know that I know that what this is. And then all of a sudden he takes the story and like flips it upside down and you're like, and it's halfway through. So it's a good amount that you're not like waiting for the last 10 pages for like a surprise twist. You're halfway through the book and you're like, wait, what's happening now? So I don't want to spoil it. So I don't want to say anything more about it, but it definitely is not your run of the mill thriller. As I said, I feel like he smirks at the reader and it's a wild ride and I'm not going to say anything more about it, but it is definitely guaranteed to surprise the heck out of you. That's what I was saying. So that is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager and it comes out June 21st. So please place your holds. Yeah, get your names on the list. All right, Liz. Is it not a thriller?
It sure is.
I've heard that about Liz loves thrillers.
I do love thrillers. So I'm back with another thriller. This one's more of a psychological thriller. It's called The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think I am. But they have several other books, but this is the first one I've ever read by them. And so the book starts off with Avery Chambers, who is a therapist. So again, just a theme of some therapists that maybe aren't all together tonight. But Avery Chambers works as an unlicensed therapist in the Washington, D.C. area. Her license was revoked due to her unorthodox practices. So she's technically a consultant.
Oh, okay.
So this doesn't stop her though from being really sought after, especially by some rich and wealthy clients. Avery guarantees that she can fix your issues in 10 sessions. So, you know, most therapists are like, okay, this is going to take years. So that's like her sales pitch is, we have 10, but you have to follow and do exactly what she says. So Avery's going to dive into really every aspect of your life to figure out like what's going on. So she's almost like therapist / PI, maybe
Cult leader.
stalker.
Oh. I went cult leader. I don't know.
But it all depends on how you want to think of it. So Marissa Bishop seeks Avery out to have for help with her marriage. Her and her husband, Matthew, they appear to be the perfect couple. They're beautiful, wealthy, successful. They seem to have everything. But when they arrive at their first session, Marissa has enticed Matthew to go to see Avery because she says there's something going on with their son. But really what it is that she wants to come clean, that she has been unfaithful to Matthew. So after a little back and forth, Matthew agrees to the process and they're going to do the 10 sessions with Avery. So as the book goes on, we learn a lot more about Marissa and Matthew and their issues. And we also learn a lot about Avery. So really everyone has a lot of secrets. And so we find out what they are slowly throughout the book. And so you'll really be like using your deductive skills to figure out like who did what and why. And it was just, I really thought this was going to be kind of like, I think Lizzie was saying with her last book, you know, where we had like these unreliable narrators, there's been a lot of books that are about husbands and wife, the younger wife, the new wife, the wife, like there's several books with those titles.
It's now couples like
Right,
anything.
so I was kind of thinking it was going to be like that, and really it was more, there was a little more to it than that, and I just thought it was really great. So it's got a lot of twists and turns. It's going to keep you turning the pages to figure out what's what. So that's my next one, Susie. She's got a romance, not a thriller.
Okay, great. The first one I'm going to talk about is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I don't know what happened to me. I was a big mystery girl for as long as I can remember. In the last few years, romance just started turning me on. So I found this author who I absolutely love. If you want something really hot and sizzly this summer, this is the book for you. I guarantee you. So what happens is, this is Piper Billinger. She is an LA, very wealthy stepdaughter of a mogul. She loves to party. She's got a ton of friends. She has a fabulous fashion eye for everything, gorgeous clothes. And she has the paparazzi's attention 24 hours a day. So one day she gets in a fight with her boyfriend, who she doesn't care that much about anyways, and goes out and drinks too much wine and throws this huge party on this rooftop. She gets busted by the cops, thrown in the slammer, and her stepfather says, "That's it, I've had enough." So we find out that her punishment is going to be sent back to the town where her father was born with her sister to renovate a dive bar that he used to run. So when she arrives, she sees this beautiful coastal town. It's called Westport in Washington. This beautiful ocean, beautiful beaches, beautiful fields of flowers. And that includes a beautiful man named Brendan,
I thought
the
you were going to
fisherman.
start with, she sets her eyes on a beautiful man, and so you surprised me, you're like, coast, and I was like, oh, right, coastline.
So at first glance, they have no chemistry. They are polar opposite. Brendan is this great looking big guy, very responsible, very resolute. And he kind of thinks that there's no way she's going to last a week on her own in Westport. Well, a couple of interactions together, and then those kindles just start flying all over the place. And these two have serious chemistry. But will she be able to adapt to the Westport of a man who goes away for weeks at a time in the ocean? And will he be able to deal with her diva-like ways? This is hands down the best romance I've read. I read it literally on a beach in a day. I couldn't put it down. There's a warning though, this is very hot and spicy, but so much fun. So I highly recommend this one.
Is it as, on the spice meter, is it as spicy as like the kiss potion?
Yes,
As spicy as?
I would say almost a little bit further.
I read in a book review how you can, for romance, because you can have closed door or open door. And so I didn't know if that was open door or closed door.
This is definitely an open door.
Okay. See, that's a good warning. for
This would be
people.
the opposite of like a cozy mystery.
Okay.
The other is-
What about your,
Okay, so then we have Golden Girl by Ellen Hildebrand. I love her. She's one of my favorites. She never disappoints me. This was actually not brand new. This is a couple of years old. You might have seen it. I personally just got my hands on it in the last
It
year.
came out last summer, so I think it's
Oh,
probably
it's not
finally
that
now
old.
you can get.
This was a little bit of step away from what she usually does. Also, the book takes place in Nantucket. Her main character is named Vivian, and she's a very successful novelist. One day she's out on her morning run and she's hit by a car and the car leaves her for dead. So you see Vivian go up to heaven. She goes to the beyond and she is met by her personal angel named Martha. Martha tells her because she's been struck so quickly and killed so fast that she is allowed to watch her life for one last summer. And when she does, she's also given 3 chances to intersect in the lives of her loved ones, her ex-husband, her boyfriend, and her 3 children and best friend. These are called nudges. So what you see is you ask yourselves if she's going to be able to get her daughter Willa through her pregnancy, high-risk pregnancy, her other daughter Carlson's wild partying ways, and her son Leo's terrible breakup with his high school girlfriend. But it's a really interesting story and it's lovely. It's almost like getting a hug from your mom. It's a lovely way to say how we embrace each other and that when someone leaves, they're never really gone forever. So this is literally takes place on a beach, very sweet, and it leaves you with such a nice, cozy, warm feeling to yourself. So I recommend it for my last beach read.
Thank you, Susie.
Yes, it's real hard to come back from.
So the book that I'm going to talk to you guys about is The Caretakers by Amanda, I think it's Bestor Siegel. It takes place in Paris, which is lovely. It takes place in Paris in 2015, which is a little harder because that was when they had the attacks in November there. And it follows the story of 6 women telling kind of the same story about how they're all interconnected. So there's Geraldine, who is a French citizen. She is a teacher. So what she does is she teaches a lot of the au pairs that come, like the young women that come to take care of a lot of kids in Paris. She teaches them French. And so you kind of have her, she's the one that really connects everybody. So you get her story, you hear from Lou, Holly, and Alina, who are all au pairs from America. You hear about them dealing with their host families and learning how to take care of kids that they don't really, any of them seem to like because they just wanted to take advantage of coming to Paris for the year. And then you hear from Charlotte and Natalie. And Charlotte is, I'm really trying to say it the normal way, the normal United States way. I listened to the book, and so they have the person who does it has like a beautiful French accent when she says all of these names. It's Charlotte and Natalie. And it's beautiful. And I highly recommend listening to the audiobook because you just get to listen to French accents the whole time. And Charlotte is this woman who is not really who she seems. She's definitely someone who, she grew up on like a farm in the middle of nowhere, France, and is like kind of hiding the fact that she is not what she is now, this like, socialite, and she married someone with a lot of money, and she wants everyone in the neighborhood to like her. She's trying to, host all these fancy dinners, and Natalie is her daughter from her first marriage, and so she kind of ignores her a little bit and doesn't really care as much about her. She cares about her son, Julian, who is 8 years old. And we find out in the first chapter that Julian ends up falling from a banister and dies. And which I'm like, so sorry, guys. We really have a lot of like death in these. But you kind of see, it goes, you find that out in the first chapter, and then it goes back the entire year from these different perspectives from these people. And it reminded me a lot of Such a Fun Age, in the fact of it's more about like the relationships that you have with different people and how it affects others. And the way it was written, it's not as heavy as I feel like I'm making it sound. And it is kind of fun. I mean, you follow three girls or four really young girls as they're, trying to live it up in Paris. And one girl finds a boyfriend, and, another one is just trying to make friends with people. And you hear all of their backgrounds of why they decided to come to Paris and their family backgrounds, and then dealing with these new families and trying to figure it out. So it is really marketed as a thriller. And I know we have thriller on there on the on our screen here. It's not really. Oh no, I totally agree. And I read this so excited. I was like, it's going to be a thriller and it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait, because there's like a bunch of really good buzz around it. It's not a thriller.
It's not a thriller. in the traditional way.
I think they tried to make it be a thriller because it was like, oh, how did Julian die? And one of the au pairs, Alina, who was the au pair for this family, does get like taken into police custody because they think that she did something. And like, without giving anything away, it really is. It's more about like hearing everyone's relationships and the interactions between these six women, dealing with half of them living in a different country, dealing with the 2015 Paris attacks, and their parents all like trying to get into contact with them to make sure that they're okay after all of this. And it is a very good book, and it has a lot of like twists and turns in the fact of like, one chapter would be basically the entire year of Lou, and then you kind of forget about Lou because you're having one entire chapter about Holly. And so it's very interesting. It's kind of like reading 6 smaller books in one that are like all interconnected. So it was very good. It is an adult book. Yes, I should say. I did try to pick an adult book for everybody.
All right. This looks nice and joyful. Doesn't that?
It does have a joyful cover. But this one, The Lifeguards by Amanda Eyre Ward. This is about Austin, Texas, this very wealthy neighborhood. These 3 mothers have been friends forever, raised their boys together. They're the best of friends. It's the first day of summer, and they come home from their job as lifeguards, and they find a body of a woman in the woods. And
That's not what I was expecting.
no,
on the cover.
it is not on the cover, but they don't call the police. They go home and tell their parents, and their parents can tell they're lying. They don't know what the story is, but they immediately go into protection mode and try to cover up, and eventually they lawyer up. And it's about, what would you do to save your son, no matter what he's done? Do you even care what he's done? What do you do to your friends? What do you do to his friends? It's it's a very happy cover. But
To me, it looks like it's
Yeah.
gonna like
It's
be like a
deceiving.
romancy or a realistic,
No,
like.
it's about like these long friendships, and the friendship of the mothers. There's also like the same issue going on with the boys. How much do you stick together? How much do you turn on each other?
And turn on them like a dime. I'm not being perfect, I would never.
It's, yep, it was really interesting, but it is more of like the relationship between like mothers and sons, and these, mom kind of school friends, presenting just their best selves to each other, and then how that translates to this tragedy and then the scrutiny on their lives. But it was really good.
When did this come out? Do you know?
This is pretty new.
Okay.
This is
April,
like
yeah.
in the past couple of months, but it's very good.
I forgot to mention if anything was on audio or not, what I listened to.
Okay, so we didn't want to talk your ears off. Well, we love to talk your ears off, but so this is our kind of speed round. So these are our last few picks. I had Susie do both of hers together. So we're gonna just come up and, I mean, you just look down normal because we do have plenty of time. But this was our last pick, which I actually found a book for this time. So I do have a copy that I took off of the speed read. So thank you, Liz, for processing this and getting it down. Yes. So this is This Time Tomorrow by Emma Straub, and this came out, oh, well, yeah, just in May 22nd. Well, we got it. It's probably like the 21st, but we probably got it up then. So this would be I was gonna say it's like realistic fiction, of course, but it's not, but it's nothing like, it's a nice break. If you really came and you're like, I don't read any mysteries or any thrillers, this is a good pick for you. So Alice is turning 40, it's the eve of her 40th birthday, and her life's not terrible. She lives in New York City. She's grown up there. She likes her job. She works in admissions for the private school that she went to as a teenager. And it's not like her dream job, but she definitely was like, you know what, it's okay. It's good enough. I think she thought she'd only be doing it when she was like 22, and now she's turning 40. She is fine with her romance life. She doesn't want anything too serious. She likes her independence. She's fine with her, apartment she's had forever. The only part of her life is that her dad, who she's extremely close with, he's famous for writing these time traveling. He wrote a time travel kids book like in the 80s or 70s, and it got turned into a TV show and became like super famous. So he is beloved by a lot of like cult classics. So it's been her and her dad her whole life. And at the very beginning, she's visiting him in his hospital. His health is failing. They don't really know why. It's not curable. So the only thing is that she's like, what am I going to do without my dad? So she's hanging out with her best friend on her birthday, and she passes out close to where she grew up in New York City. And she wakes up and she's in her childhood bedroom and in her 16-year-old self body. And she panics and everything's the same. She thinks she's on this long hallucination. But when she goes downstairs, she sees her dad. Her dad's 40, and she just cannot get over, like, this is him alive and healthy. I'm gonna cry. And she's so close to him, so she just wants to spend the day. Like, she remembers her 16th birthday, but she just wants to spend the day with him. Even more than seeing her high school crush or her best friend, she's like, okay, this, like, what happens to him? So then when she wakes up after the birthday ends, she's back to being 40. And instead of this being, I don't know about you guys, but I love time travel books, but I get really frustrated when they're Groundhog Day, when it's the same day that they have to relive over and over again. What's interesting about this is, I won't spoil it, but she can, the only day she can go back to and relive is her 16th birthday, but she's not forced to. Like, so she can go back to present day, and it does, what she changes about that day does affect her present. So you can actually keep going back and like messing with something else, and then, going back and, okay, well, now I have a nice apartment, but no matter what she tries to change, her dad is still sick. And so what was interesting is I thought it was going to be that, like, oh, I wanted the guy that I, Peggy Sue Got Married. Has anyone ever seen that movie? Love that movie. But they reference a lot of 90s things, and she literally says, okay, what movie is this? If this is happening to me, is this going to be like Peggy Sue? She just went back and she, got with the guy from high school on the track team. But that's, so it was a lot more heartfelt, the fact that, like, she has this motivation of because she's like, her dad smoked like a chimney, and she's like, you really need to stop smoking, Dad, whatever she can to try to affect the present. So it was a very unique story. And even though it had that trope of the time travel, it's really about a father-daughter relationship, and I've got, it has a lot of great 90s, things that you. So this is This Time Tomorrow by Emma Straub, and it's going to be a great book to listen to. That was my last pick. Do you have another thriller, Liz?
I wouldn't say it's a thriller.
Okay.
Some might say that, but I feel like it's more. Well, I'll just. So it's The Club, and it is about a company that has clubs that are for the rich and the famous only, and you have to be really rich and really famous, and you have to be invited. So you can't just be like sort of famous or sort of rich. They like handpick who is allowed to come to the club. So the home group has clubs all over the world: London, Malibu, Paris, Shanghai, and their newest club is being built on an island off the coast of England.
Yeah.
And so it's opening weekend. The club, the home group is in debt. They've spent far too much money. And they have invited celebrities from all over the world to come, and it's going to be this great weekend extravaganza. And what follows is a lot of backstabbing, blackmail, murder. And if you enjoy books about people behaving badly and glitz and glamour, this is definitely the book for you. It definitely has that sort of, I mean, it's not really like that because it doesn't have as much, what's the word that Susie used? Steamy.
No, I felt.
Filth or steamy. But it's definitely reminiscent of, I want to say like Jackie Collins, Judith Krantz, like these rich people doing bad things. And it's definitely entertaining. So. All right. I am back with another YA. I'm gonna just minimize that so we can see the full cover of that. Okay, so this is I Kiss Shara Wheeler. It's by Casey McQuiston, who wrote Red, White, Royal Blue and One Last Stop. So this is her first YA book. So I had to go grab it because I could not remember the main character's name, because you would think, I don't know, I would think it was Shara Wheeler, and it's not. And so it follows the story of Chloe Green, who moved from Southern California with her two moms back to Alabama, where one of her moms grew up. And Chloe is a senior in high school, and she goes to Willow Grove Christian Academy. And so she's this very like free spirit 17-year-old girl who grew up with two moms, and going to a Christian academy gets a lot of sideways looks. And so I think this would have been her 4th year of living here. She moved when she was a freshman, and so she's found her group. She's has a lot of friends in like the theater, and that's what they kind of do. And out of nowhere, Shara Wheeler, who is like this popular girl, her dad is the principal of the school, he's a pastor at the local church, kisses her in an elevator at the school right after prom, or during prom, sorry, and then goes missing. This is not a mystery book, though. It's not a thriller, I shouldn't say. She goes missing, and Chloe is pissed off. She's annoyed. She's like, what the heck? Out of nowhere, this girl kisses me. And then this hot girl kisses me, and then she disappears. And Shara Wheeler disappears halfway through prom. So she's not even around when she's supposed to be crowned prom queen. So the next day, Chloe goes to Shara's house, breaks in, tries to find a clue in her bedroom, anything. And so she then runs into the neighbor kid that lives next door, same grade, same age, also breaking into Shara's house. And he was like, you kissed Shara also? Shara kissed me. And they're like, all right, this is really awkward. We should probably go talk to Shara's boyfriend about all of this. And they talk to Shara's boyfriend, and he's like, are you guys kidding me? Like, why is Shara going around kissing all these people? And they start finding pink stationery hidden around town from Shara. And it's like all of these clues as to like, I forget her boyfriend's name, Smith.
His first name is Smith?
His first name is Smith. Smith, find the next clue, where this happened. And so Smith's like, okay. And they each have like a different letter written to them, so they all have to work together. So it takes place over a few weeks. So it's funny, the beginning of every chapter is days since Shara Wheeler left, and then days until graduation. So it's a countdown until graduation. And the reason Chloe is so annoyed about this is her and Shara are like rivals when it comes to academics. So they're both trying to be the valedictorian and they're like neck and neck. And Chloe's like, I don't want to lose, or I don't
By
want to
default.
win by default. I want to win because I beat Shara. And so she's like, that's her excuse, is she's trying to find Shara and bring her back to school. So Shara has to take the test and then they can she can win. So it's like I didn't know what to expect. And it's like such a good kind of wholesome coming of age story. And it is like perfect for kind of gearing up for the summer because it has to do with high school graduation. So that's I Kiss Shara Wheeler.
So this is my last one, Good Rich People by Eliza Jane Frazier. If you want something that makes your heart feel full, read Lady Sunshine. This is like the other end of that spectrum.
You want your heart to feel empty.
So this is about this super, super rich family. They have this guest house on their estate. And what they do are they handpick people, they move them in, and they mess with their lives until it completely falls apart, or they end up, homeless, in the hospital, in jail. And they do it little by little. And every night they will meet and have like champagne and caviar and discuss what they've done during the day. And it's this, it's this mother and her grown son. They've been playing the game for years, and he has recently got married. And his new wife, she just keeps screwing it up, and there's a body count now. And so they move the new person in, and she is not what they were expecting. And I'm not going to tell you any more, but it moves along really quick, but it's really different and very odd. But it's a really good kind of thriller
Those are
of
Caroline's
things that
favorite.
will never happen to you.
You promise?
Yeah, these are the kind of things that you never have to worry about actually happening to you.
See, that makes my heart feel full.
It is, yeah. But it was really good. I hate to end on such a disturbing note, but.
Stop sharing screen. So those are the books we had. As I said, we have some copies in person. For those of you if you want to check any out, and we have bookmarks. And I have the list of participants online. So thank you guys for joining us, and I can email you guys a list of books that we had. And if you come into the library in the next few weeks, we will have a display, and you can always ask any librarian you see walking around for book suggestions. So we hope that everyone has a great summer, whether you go to the beach, your porch, or you sit in AC. We hope you found something to read tonight. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. What? Oh, wait, nobody leave.
They're all gone.
Nobody here and nobody there. This type of thing. Susie wants to plug some awesome things she's doing this summer, which you want again to sign up right away if you can. Yeah, you do it here so they can hear you.
Hi, I'm back. So we have a couple of programs in the works that are going to be happening in the next few weeks. The first one I want to talk about is called, we're going to start the first annual Great Plant Swap. This is a kind of fun new thing we're going to be doing. Me and Caroline are going to be at the Islington branch on June 8th.
January.
June 8th from 3 to 7. It's going to be outside, and we're going to have a plant splitting party. So what it is that you can bring a plant from your garden or from your porch and split it, and you can pass it to somebody. We'll have a table, and you can leave it, and you can take a plant from somebody else in the community. It's a beautiful way to have friendship gardens, to be able to swap, share different species and varieties. We'll also have a little craft for kids that they can plant a seed in little egg carton things. We'll also thank you to the friends because they're allowing us to sell some garden books in their name. And we're gonna have a lot of fun. I'll also have some pamphlets to hand out to anybody who needs them. Again, it's 3 to 7. You do not have to register. You can just keep an eye out for balloons and tables and me and Caroline trying to wave people down. Even if you just want to come and say hi, we'd love to see your faces. And the second thing I'm gonna be doing is June 22nd. It's a Wednesday night. This is also at the Islington branch. We are gonna be doing a herb container program. It's super fun. All the supplies will be provided. We'll have a container and we'll have 3 to 4 different herbs, and we'll talk all about, how do you take care of herbs? What herbs are planted well together, and perhaps maybe some culinary tips of how to use the herbs. So I hope you sign up. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
The 22nd.
22nd.
22nd, Wednesday at 6:30 PM. And the other one is also on a Wednesday, again, 3 to 7. That one you do not have to register for. And I have little thingies I can pass out for you. Okay,
Thank you, Susie. Thank you, everyone online. Hope everyone's well. Have a great evening. I'm gonna end it. So good night. Oh, I can't do this.
I would come anyways. I would come anyways. I might have